Thing you should be doing as a pro motorcycle rider, a seasonal rider, or even a beginner rider is constantly practice your emergency brakes. So that's what we're going to do today. I'm going to show you how to properly emergency brake. This is my M209, but the same thing applies to every motorcycle. So let's go. A common thing people do when they panic and emergency brake is they pull in the clutch and brake like that. And that works, obviously it works, but one thing you're missing out on is the engine braking, especially a high torque motorcycle like this with lots of engine braking. You want to keep that clutch out. It doesn't matter if you stall because you're in an emergency situation. You can just start the bike back up again. So what you want to do when it's time to do an emergency brake, you want to leave your clutch out. You want to grab, depending if you have ABS or not, there's a lot of different variables. You want to grab just enough front brake to where that front wheel's not locking up. You want to slam on that rear brake just to where it's not locking up. If it starts locking up and you don't have ABS, just kind of feather the brake a little bit so it's not locking up. You want to leave your clutch alone, and that way your wheels aren't skidding and you're getting as much braking force to the ground as you can. So let me demonstrate. Again, if you can pull the clutch in at the last second and not stall, then great, but it doesn't matter if you stall. It's an emergency situation. So we're just going to cruise along like we normally would, and all of a sudden, just like that, you can see the engine stalled. I didn't pull the clutch in. But I went from, that crack over there to here. That was a pretty decent stop. And this bike has really good ABS. So no matter how hard you pull that brake in, it's not going to do a stoppie. It's not going to lock up the front wheel. It's a really safe bike. But that's the basics of doing an emergency brake. You want to be looking straight ahead. You want to grab front brake. You don't want to squeeze it really hard like that. And then, if you don't have ABS, you could loop the bike, or you could lock up the front wheel and make your bars do that, which is not a good day. So you want to gradually, but obviously fast, pull in that front brake just like that. Don't yank on it. The rear brake doesn't matter as much. You can kind of stomp on that. Just if you don't have ABS, make sure it doesn't lock up, and that gives you the maximum braking force that you can. I hope you guys learned something today. Go out to an empty parking lot like this, spend half an hour just hammering those brakes and trying to get that distance as slow as you can, and stay safe.